14 worlds, 3 movies, 1 galaxy changed forever. The Star Wars Prequel Trilogy didn't just give us lightsaber battles in the fall of Anakin Skywalker. It built an entire universe of planets that would define the fate of every character we love. This is every planet in the Star Wars prequels explained. Let's start with the planet that started it all, Naboo. This wasn't just Queen Amidala's pretty homeworld. Naboo was the center of the most brilliant political manipulation in galactic history. Senator Palpatine used his own planet as a chess piece, secretly ordering the Trade Federation to invade his homeworld just to create chaos. Think about that for a second. Palpatine sacrificed his own people, his own planet, just to become Chancellor. The beautiful green fields and underwater Gungan cities were nothing more than props in his master plan. But here's what makes Naboo even more twisted. The planet appears in all 3 prequel movies, and by the end, it becomes Padme's final resting place. The same world where Palpatine began his rise to power becomes where his son's mother is buried. That's not coincidence, that's poetry. Now let's talk about Tatooine, but forget everything you think you know about this desert world. Yes, it's where Luke grew up, but the prequels reveal something much darker. Tatooine isn't just some backwater planet, it's where the Chosen One lived as a slave. The irony cuts deep. The most powerful Force user in history couldn't even free his own mother from slavery. When Anakin returns 10 years later, he finds his mother dying in a Tusken Raider camp. This moment on Tatooine is where Anakin first gives in to the dark side, slaughtering an entire village, men, women, and children. The same sand that Luke would one day call home is soaked with the blood of Anakin's first massacre. Tatooine shaped 2 Skywalkers, but in completely opposite ways. Coruscant deserves special attention because it's not just a planet, it's the beating heart of the galaxy. Every single important decision that leads to the Empire's rise happens here. The Jedi Temple, the Senate, Palpatine's office, they're all on Coruscant. This planet is where democracy dies and where the Jedi Order falls. Here's something most fans miss. Coruscant has levels, thousands of them. The higher you live, the more powerful you are. The Jedi Temple sits at the top looking down on everyone, but by the end of the prequels, those same Jedi are being hunted through the streets below. The symbolism is perfect. The mighty have fallen, literally. Kamino reveals one of the most disturbing secrets in Star Wars history. This ocean world is where the clone army was created. But here's the twisted part. Nobody really ordered them. The Jedi think they did. The Senate thinks the Jedi did. But it was all Palpatine manipulating both sides of a war he created. The Kaminoans bred millions of human beings to fight and die in a war they knew nothing about. These clones had accelerated aging, which means they lived shorter lives just to be better soldiers. And when the war ended, the Empire threw them away like broken tools. Kamino represents everything evil about using people as weapons. Geonosis deserves special recognition as the planet where everything went wrong. This red rocky desert world was home to insect-like Geonosians who lived in underground catacombs, specializing in engineering and manufacturing. But they weren't just building battle droids in those factories. They were designing the Death Star itself. The plans that would terrorize the galaxy for decades were drafted in the caves of Geonosis. Here's the sequence of events that makes Geonosis so crucial. Obi-Wan's investigation led him to discover the secret droid factories and the Separatist Council meeting. When Anakin and Padme tried to rescue him, all 3 ended up captured and sentenced to death in the Geonosian arena. This forced the Republic to reveal their secret clone army and launch the Battle of Geonosis, the first battle of the Clone Wars. But the battle had consequences nobody saw coming. Archduke Poggle the Lesser, the Geonosian leader, was eventually captured and recruited by Orson Krennic to help build the Death Star. The Geonosians spent years constructing this ultimate weapon for the Empire, believing they were securing their future. Instead, once the Death Star was operational, the Empire sterilized their entire planet. Every Geonosian who knew how to build planet-killing weapons was eliminated. Mustafar represents the culmination of every dark choice made throughout the prequel trilogy. This volcanic world wasn't chosen randomly for the final confrontation. It was controlled by the Techno Union and served as headquarters for the Black Sun crime syndicate. Everything about Mustafar screams danger and corruption, making it the perfect stage for Anakin's final transformation. During the Clone Wars, Anakin and Ahsoka visited Mustafar to rescue kidnapped Jedi infants from Cad Bane. Neither realized they were walking through the place where Anakin would eventually lose his humanity. The irony cuts deep. He once saved children on this planet, but returned as Darth Vader to murder them. When the Separatist Council fled to Mustafar seeking safety, they thought they had found sanctuary. Instead, they found their executioner. Vader's massacre of the Separatist leaders wasn't just murder, it was the official end of the Clone Wars. Every major Separatist figure died in those mining facilities, from Nute Gunray to Wat Tambor. The war that started on Geonosis ended on Mustafar. The lightsaber duel between Obi-Wan and Anakin takes place over rivers of lava and collapsing structures, but the real destruction happens emotionally. Obi-Wan doesn't just defeat Anakin, he watches his brother burn alive. When he takes Anakin's lightsaber and walks away, he's abandoning everything they once shared. After the war, Vader's decision to build his fortress on Mustafar reveals his broken psychology. He constructed Fortress Vader over the ruins of an ancient Sith temple, choosing to live where he lost everything: his limbs, his wife, his identity, and his soul. The native Mustafarians resisted Imperial rule and launched attacks on the fortress, but Vader crushed every rebellion. He turned the planet, where he became a monster, into his personal prison, surrounded by the lava flows that nearly killed him. Utapau reveals the desperate final moments of the Separatist cause through its unique underground civilization. The Pauans and Utai people built their entire society in massive sinkholes, creating cities that stretched deep beneath the planet's surface. These weren't just hiding places, they were architectural marvels that had existed for thousands of years. When General Grievous chose Utapau as his hiding spot, he picked the perfect metaphor for what the Separatist movement had become: a shadow of its former self lurking in darkness while the galaxy burned above. The planet's leader, Port Administrator Tian Medon, secretly supported the Republic despite hosting Grievous, showing how even Separatist-aligned worlds were turning against the cause. Obi-Wan's mission to Utapau wasn't just about killing Grievous, it was about eliminating the last effective Separatist commander. Without Grievous, the droid armies became leaderless, making Vader's massacre of the Separatist Council even more devastating. The lightsaber duel between Obi-Wan and Grievous took place on multiple levels of the Sinkhole City, with the cyborg general using his four-armed fighting style in desperate attempts to escape. The chase sequence that followed showed Grievous at his most cowardly, abandoning his army to save himself, only to be gunned down by Obi-Wan with a blaster. The irony wasn't lost. The civilized weapon lightsaber couldn't finish the job, but an uncivilized blaster could. When the clone army arrived during the battle, they initially fought alongside Obi-Wan before Order 66 turned them against him. The sinkholes that had hidden Grievous nearly became Obi-Wan's tomb as well. Kashyyyk demonstrates the ultimate betrayal of trust and friendship in the entire prequel trilogy. The Wookiee homeworld, covered with massive rocher trees that stretch kilometers into the sky, represented everything noble about the Republic Alliance. These weren't just trees, they were living cities where Wookiee families had built their civilization for generations. Master Yoda's relationship with the Wookiees went beyond military alliance. He had genuine friendships with Chieftain Tarful and Chewbacca, sharing mutual respect based on honor and wisdom. When the Separatists invaded Kashyyyk, Yoda didn't just volunteer to command the defense, he personally cared about protecting these people and their ancient way of life. The Battle of Kashyyyk showcased the incredible partnership between clone troopers, Jedi, and Wookiee warriors. They fought side by side on the beaches and in the treetop cities, with Wookiees using their bowcasters alongside clone blaster rifles. The amphibious assault vehicles and spider droids created massive battles, both on the water and among the trees, making Kashyyyk one of the most visually spectacular conflicts of the Clone Wars. But then, Order 66 shattered everything. Commander Gree and his troops turned their weapons on Yoda during what should have been a moment of victory. The clones who had fought beside the Wookiees just moments before were now trying to murder their Jedi general. Yoda's survival depended entirely on Chewbacca and Tarful, who smuggled him off-planet in an escape pod. The aftermath was devastating for Kashyyyk. The Empire immediately enslaved the Wookiee population, turning these proud warriors into forced laborers. The ancient tree cities became prison camps and families were separated across the galaxy. Chewbacca himself was eventually enslaved until Han Solo freed him, creating the life debt that would define both their destinies. The planet that had shown the best of Republic values became a symbol of Imperial oppression, proving that even the strongest friendships couldn't survive Palpatine's manipulations. Maigito represents everything wrong with the Republic's priorities. This crystalline world was incredibly wealthy, covered in cities built above frozen terrain. The Lurman species called it home before many fled to escape the endless warfare. But here's the dark truth. Maigito was aligned with the Separatists not because they believed in their cause, but because the Republic had failed them. When Jedi Master Ki-Adi-Mundi finally secured victory in the 4th Battle of Maigito, it should have been a moment of triumph. Instead, his own clone troopers executed him during Order 66. Felucia tells an equally tragic story, but with a twist that makes it even more heartbreaking. This jungle planet wasn't just another battlefield, it was a world that specialized in agriculture, feeding other systems across the galaxy. The vibrant plant life and exotic creatures should have made it paradise. Instead, its strategic position along the Perlemian trade route made it a target for pirates and, eventually, armies. Jedi Master Aayla Secura led her clone troopers through Felucia's colorful forest during the final days of the Clone Wars. She had previously saved this world from pirates alongside Obi-Wan and Anakin. The planet owed her its safety, but when Order 66 activated, those same beautiful jungles became her tomb. Her own soldiers gunned her down among the flowers and trees she had protected. The planet that she saved couldn't save her in return. Cato Neimoidia reveals the corporate corruption that enabled the entire Clone Wars. This wasn't just another separatist world, it was the headquarters of the Trade Federation, the organization that started everything with their blockade of Naboo. The wealthy Neimoidians tried to stay neutral during the war, but neutrality is impossible when your planet houses the enemy's command structure. Here's what makes Cato Neimoidia fascinating. Obi-Wan and Anakin had multiple missions there, including their first encounter with the Sith assassin Asajj Ventress. When Anakin claimed he saved Obi-Wan during one of these missions, Obi-Wan dismissed it, saying their business on Cato Neimoidia doesn't count. This seemingly throwaway line reveals how routine their dangerous missions had become. When Jedi Master Plo Koon led his clone squadron over Cato Neimoidia during the final siege, he was shot down during Order 66. The corporate headquarters that had helped fund the Separatist cause became another Jedi graveyard. Salikami became a refuge for settlers trying to escape the Clone Wars, but the conflict found them anyway. When Order 66 happened, Jedi Master Stas Ali was killed on Salikami by her own troops. The planet that had become a haven for those fleeing war became another site of betrayal. But even after the war ended, Salikami remained a place where soldiers went to take refuge and find peace. Polis Massa deserves more attention than its brief appearance suggests. This asteroid medical facility represents the intersection of life and death that defines the entire saga. The Polis Massons, who communicate through telepathy, created this sterile environment where the most important birth in galactic history takes place. Think about the symbolism here. Padme dies giving birth to twins in a place designed to preserve life. The medical droids do everything they can to save her, but she's lost the will to live. Meanwhile, her children, the future of the Jedi and the Rebellion, take their first breaths in this cold, clinical environment. Luke and Leia enter the world as orphans, separated immediately to protect them from their father. But here's the detail that makes this even more profound. Years later, Vader discovers this facility during his hunt for information about Luke. He visits the exact place where his children were born and his wife died, searching for clues about the son he never knew existed. The asteroid that witnessed the end of Anakin Skywalker's family also witnesses Darth Vader's desperate attempt to reclaim what he lost. Finally, there's Alderaan, appearing for just seconds but carrying enormous weight. When we glimpse this peaceful world at the end of Revenge of the Sith, it looks like paradise, like rolling hills, beautiful architecture, and a sense of tranquility that the galaxy desperately needs. Senator Bail Organa and Queen Breha take baby Leia home to the sanctuary, raising her as a princess who will never know her true heritage. But we know what happens to Alderaan. We know that in 19 years, the Death Star will reduce this entire world to asteroids. Every person we might have seen in that brief glimpse, every building, every memory, all of it becomes a space dust to demonstrate the Empire's power. The planet that represented hope and peace becomes a symbol of the Empire's ultimate evil. Each of these 14 planets tells part of a larger story about how democracies fall and empires rise. They show how good people can be manipulated, how friendship can be weaponized, and how even the most beautiful worlds can hide the darkest secrets. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out more related content shown on screen.